Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Advantages Middle East Family Information Hour. Every Saturday morning, we meet with families, colleagues, and concerned community members about education and children to discuss timely topics with informed guests. My name is Jeffrey Smith, Managing Director of Advantages Middle East, and we are joined today by Marquita Hightower, co-founder and Director of Special Education Services for Sunshine Learning Difficulties. Sunshine Learning Difficulty Center is the first education service provider in Dubai licensed by the Community Development Authority and the Knowledge and Human Development Authority, KHDA. Sunshine services people of determination as well as gifted and talented individuals with a variety of services. Sunshine has been in the community serving students and colleagues and educators since 2017. And we welcome Sunshine. And before we move on to Sunshine, since today's show is all about supporting students with special needs, we want to reintroduce Dr. Cara Williams. Dr. Williams is a trained education psychologist with a proven track record supporting students with special education needs across the spectrum. Dr. Cara is the founding director and managing director of Success Center in Abu Dhabi. So we're really excited to have her join us today as well. Dr. Cara, I'm going to go ahead and let you begin today's discussion.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. And I am very enthusiastic about special education and all the different learning needs of students. Whether students are put into a category or not, all students learn in different ways. And we have some students who might have more specific ways and needs than other students. So when you think about traditional school, economically and profitably, having 25 to 40 students in the class is fantastic, but efficiency-wise, it is not. And so having the smaller class sizes benefits all students, but especially those who might have a more specified learning difference. So when it comes to special education, your general educators, your regular classroom teachers, they're always taught how and they're taught what to teach. So if they're math teachers, they take a lot of math classes. If they're English teachers, they take a lot of English classes. But they only usually have one or two classes about how to teach material. And there's usually one, if any, classes about special needs. So anytime a child is actually diagnosed or sent for more evaluation, then now the general educator is kind of out of their comfort zone and they're out of their area of expertise. So by having those smaller class sizes or choosing to do something like a homeschool program or an online program, it can really increase the confidence, the success, the overall I can do it type of attitude for students who are really struggling in a general education classroom. And so that's why teaming with Advantages Middle East and all of these other amazing people that are being brought to the table has been so rewarding, is because we're all on that same mission. We want to help children understand that they learn the same, like their ability to learn is there. Their confidence level can be higher. Their efficiency, their willingness and eagerness to learn can all be achieved if they're just put in the right environment. So as parents, I myself am a mother of 3, we just have to find the best learning environment for our children. And if that's a regular classroom with 25 to 40 students, fantastic. But if it's not, we need to look for other alternatives and other ways to really boost our students and our children.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Cara. We have some questions. Some were actually sent in for Success Center beforehand. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and save all of our questions until the end of the conversation. Okay? And so moving forward, I'm having trouble with the slide progression here. I want to go ahead and introduce today's guest. Marquita Hightower is one of the most extraordinary people you'll ever want to meet. Not only is she one of the region's most sought after special education professionals, but she's also a retired U.S. Navy officer. Her passion and advocacy for students of determination is unmatched. She is regularly called upon by radio stations and journalists for her expert opinion on education-related topics, especially in the education community. And it's my honor to introduce my friend, and more importantly, a friend to the special education community, Marquita Hightower. Marquita?
Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well and, getting prepared for the upcoming school year as it may be. Thank you. Is the sound still there?
Can you see the slide?
Yes, I can see the slide. Okay.
Okay, we're here.
Oh, okay. Okay, I guess that's my time to go ahead and discuss. And I think that there was a topic that was at hand, and that is the ability of places like Advantages Middle East to collaborate with special education and provide services to students. So what you see on the screen is special education is a service, not a place. It's a very famous saying. I don't know who did it. I very first heard it back many, many years ago when I myself as a parent had a child who needed special education services. And they put him in a specific classroom, and I didn't agree with it. And I felt really bad about that because I was like, well, he doesn't have this particular problem with hearing. And they told me that it's not about the hearing. He actually had ADHD, right? So they told me it's not about the hearing, it's where he can get his service met. So I had to take the cap off, back up, accept what was, and say, okay, let's talk about what that service is. So going back to Advantages Middle East and fast forwarding now for some 30-something years, right? And being in that culture and being in that situation. And now being an educator myself, I stick to what I learned. And basically what I do know is that any kind of intervention, as Dr. Kara had mentioned, any kind of support or anything that the student will need, especially working with general education teachers. Special educators, we are there specifically to bring in that support of that student. Everyone does learn. We know this. We just have to figure out the how they learn. The best thing about Advantages Middle East is it reduces, of course, some of the numbers that you might deal with. So your child can get specialized one-to-one service, or they can be in a small group, such as at the success centers that they are offering. So this is a huge advantage to a lot of students who may be facing learning difficulties, because once you make interventions and you can track that progress, it's very positive. So I think in that respect, I am here, and I think it's a perfect mix of Sunshine and Advantages Middle East to support these students as they come to us. We do have all kinds of ways that we work with Advantages Middle East. Dr. Kara is there. There's ways of she mentioned something about diagnosis. There's a way, the only thing, let me be clear to everyone, the only thing that diagnosis does for us, I'm a teacher, only thing it does for us is it lets us to have eligibility for your student. So never be afraid of the diagnosis. I know I was a mom. I was like, oh, what does this mean? What does this say about my child? Well, it only said that he was eligible for services, because if you've ever seen a group of students and you know that, say, all the students have brown eyes or blue eyes or whatever color eyes they have, you know that to meet them, you could categorize people by their characteristics of having brown eyes. But if you've ever met one student with brown eyes, you've only met one student with brown eyes. In other words, all these diagnoses, it's great. You get your diagnosis, you got a general idea of what you may be facing, but it really doesn't tell the picture until you move into a learning environment that can cater to the needs of your child and you can support what your individual child needs. So I think that's really the power of what all of us bring to the table today. Do you agree, Jeffrey?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
So, and Dr. Cara, I think you're there still. We work hand in hand. She is a psychologist, and this is wonderful because the psychologists and special educators, and we absolutely need general educators, and we absolutely need you parents to be part of this process. You are the driving force of knowing and advocating for your child as to what you see the possibilities to be. So I think that at this point, you get a team of support when you have the dynamics of Sunshine, Advantages Middle East, and the people involved. So that's really, if I could say anything about special education as a service, not a place. If you're receiving support in your general school, if you're at a brick and mortar school, fine. If you're receiving support at Advantages Middle East, fine. But guess what? You can also mix the two. Okay, there is nothing stopping you from working with your traditional brick and mortar school and also enhancing support from outside with Advantages Middle East and Sunshine to bring extra support, a layer of extra support to the school. And most schools are open for that, because the driving force behind all that, and I'll just say it briefly, is the individual education program, which is their IEP. And that is a big thing that's honored here. We do have them at Advantages. We have some students who are on Advantages. They have an IEP, and we do work with all the teachers there. And the teachers are aware of the students, what their goals are, what they're going to be doing, how we're going to get there. And it's just a wonderful collaboration. So if your school needs that kind of support, we can bring that as well. Okay, and that's from all ends of the spectrum, from kids that have, disabilities and need some kind of interventions to, Jeffrey mentioned, our gifted and talented students who also need some kind of enrichment, and it may not be at your school just yet. So we have students that are above level who need extra supports as well, and they're often ignored. So pay attention to that closely. We have ways of identifying them and also supporting them through Advantages and Sunshine.
Cool. Marquita, thank you. And Dr. Cara, thank you. We have several questions that are coming in, and we also have some questions that were brought up in advance. Marquita, I do have a follow-up question. It's actually from me, because we hear the term IEP a lot, and of course, for those of us who are from the United States, we sort of grew up with this type of terminology, and it was a very structured process that was very well regulated. But I feel like internationally, the term is sort of taken on more of a generic sort of term. Could you please just give us a definition of what a proper individual education program is from your perspective?
Okay, so not only from my perspective, but most of the IEPs or individual education program are governed by law. So believe it or not, here in UAE, and I also do work in Saudi, Bahrain, wherever I'm at, there is actually here in the UAE a law. It's called Law 29, 2006. For those of you who are on your phones or devices, please Google it. And under Law 29, 2006, which has been updated throughout many, many times, but under that law, they did define what the IEP was for the UAE. And you can find the actual technical written description, but on the outside, just loosely, it is a written document that outlines the kind of individual supports and interventions that a student with a disability will receive while being supported in an educational setting. So you notice it doesn't say in a school, it says in an educational setting. And it's a bunch of services that will be provided to the student. It has to be done by a multidisciplinary team. In other words, general educators, parents, the student himself, any specialists such as psychologists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. All of these people come together and make a plan so that your student's educational journey, we can track the progress of that student. So it is governed by law, and in Abu Dhabi, in all the Emirates, it is supported, and the schools are mandated to have those IEPs in place for those students. Even places like Advantages Middle East, which has its roots coming from the US, Nevada, state of Nevada system, which I was there for about 18 years as well. Even then, so on an international level, the IEP is a written document that must support the student. So that is what the IEP is. Now, let me also add, I'll add a little bonus for you. For students that have gifted and talented, they often run into issues as well. And we need to, also formulate a plan for them. So in the UAE, they get a form called an ALP, which is an advanced learning program, which is mandated as well by that law. And then you get down to your state laws, right? Dubai, Abu Dhabi. But they also get a plan. So respectively so, we have interventions and ways to enrich them so that they also don't fall behind where they are in their educational journey. So I hope I've answered your question, Jeffrey. It is by far the best tool. If you go to school, your child is eligible for services, and you have not received your IEP, you need to ask your school about it first, make sure they know, educate yourself on it. You can go on to ADDIC's website, you can go on to KHDA's website, you can go on to SPIA, wherever you are, your local governing authority will have some verbiage on it. And then you need to approach your school. If not, then you can contact us at Sunshine and we'll help you with that process.
Thank you. Thank you, Marquita. It's very, very, very informative.
I have a question for Marquita. What if you are not in the school system? Mm-hmm. Do we go to places like yours to get an IEP? Because I have.
Excuse me. Because, okay, so like when you're where? You're receiving services online or whatever it is, or?
Right. Okay. I'm just asking because there are certain things in Abu Dhabi that our special needs kids are eligible for, but sometimes they're asking for an IEP, but you're not in the school system, you're homeschooling your child.
It doesn't matter, the law is the law.
So where do you go to get this?
So where you would go to get this, you will ask your service provider for it. They should know about it.
Yeah.
And then if not, I mean, I'm here to try to work with all sources. We've had this issue come before, okay? And if not, then you need to approach your local governing authority that would govern that online service and ask them about how to mandate it. Because this is the thing, the IEP is a legal document, okay, for all intents and purposes. And this is the thing, without it, I'm really wondering, how is your child receiving service and how do you know that he's making progress? So You see, I mean, when you get, and if you gear the child towards the traditional measures, like, okay, I take a test, I get a report card, standardized test. If anyone visits our Instagram or our Sunshine Facebook, you will see I just put a post up there that basically states about if we get special services, then why are all tests standardized? Mm-hmm. So, to be quite honest with you and quite fair to here in the UAE, they have taken a look at that, and things like the MSAT and other standardized tests are being waived for people of determination. And Sunshine has been the headliner at getting students, we handle students in university as well, at getting them waived at such high stakes tests, okay? So you have to go back to the governing of your, if you are online in Advantages Middle East or wherever you are, you have a right, and they are accredited by a governing body, right? From the US or we have kids online in different places in the Philippines, in the UK. Then if they're here, then you must demand your IEP. It is your right. And if the places, usually you get a pushback when places don't really have people that know how to do the IEPs. I'm serious. It's not that they don't want to. I haven't met a place yet where I've walked into and they're like, oh, the IEP. It's just that they don't have the knowledge of how to formulate it. And that's what we do at Sunshine. That's one of our specialties. I would suggest then that you would get an advocate such as Sunshine and then approach the people and see how we can work it out. Because once everyone's on that IEP, they really appreciate it. Because it's kind of an agreement of what that school or that education place is going to do for you and your child. And as a parent, you have the right to know that, especially the most vulnerable students with disabilities.
Right.
That they get their service.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, wonderful. Dr. Cara, I have a question for you. This is from a parent. They have a 16-year-old daughter who lacks self-confidence. She has been diagnosed with dyslexia, but aside from that, she's doing rather well in school. They're deciding on a different learning environment because of bullying that's taken place at her school. And the parent wants to know, how can Success Center help a student who needs to build their confidence and self-esteem?
Okay, sure. So an advantage, an advantage for advantages. An advantage to having the smaller class sizes is you then have the opportunity as the educator or for the facilitator of learning to get to know the child and get to know what their interests are, what are their natural gifts and abilities, and you get to build those things. When they're in a larger class setting, a teacher has 29 other children that they're trying to get to know. And so that individuality and that the personal time isn't there. So especially once a child is 16, there's a lot of things happening. They're going through physical changes, they're going through emotional changes, they're going through friendship changes. And on top of that, we're adding in dyslexia, which I'm sure has been a point of separation for this child their entire school career. So by having that small class size and getting more individualized instruction, you can then start from the foundation. You can fill in the holes, not just academically, but also with their social and emotional well-being. And as that confidence builds, then if they choose to go back to a larger setting, they're now equipped with their own emotional power and their own self-confidence that they know how and what works for their learning, where they can now cope with a larger setting. And then they have that strength within themselves to make friends and to say, it's okay that I have dyslexia, because that means I have all of these other things that other people don't have. Like I can see the big picture and I can remember small little details that you may not have even noticed. And there's so many things that she can do that she may not even realize she has the power to do. So we first need to build up the child to get them into a healthy space. And then they're ready to move on to college or to whatever they choose to be, or however many things they choose to be in this world.
I'm glad you said that. I really, really appreciate your answer, Dr. Cara, because I've seen a lot of education providers that provide almost like an artificial learning environment for children, but there's no real plan to help them progress into real life and the independent living skills that they're going to need. It's like they've made a comfort zone from the child that they never really grow out of. And so I'm really glad that you hear that your program is about starting them from where they are and then slowly progressing them into where they need to get to be, healthy, emotionally sound adults. It's very good. Thank you. We have another question for you, Dr. Cara.
Okay.
Are you able to screen students who have learning disabilities?
Yes, I do have some measures that can check for
who may have
learning disabilities. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
such as reading difficulties or math difficulties or handwriting difficulties. But I don't do the diagnosis right away. So we do the screening first to see if this is something we need to look for, like we need to go deeper. So we do have measures to do that. And then if the parent would like to proceed with doing an actual evaluation or assessment, then that can also be done.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we also can refer to our other co-host,
yes,
Dr. Marquita. And Marquita, you do have a very comprehensive.
Yes, we do. We have a system called CLASS, which I didn't give you the picture for that one, but anyone interested can contact us. CLASS is a educational assessment and functional performance assessment that can give me the precise levels of skills. It's criterion referenced. So what does that mean? It means that it's not based on, norm reference would be based on like the child's age and certain criteria are there. Criterion reference, it's based on what the child can do versus a set of skills. So I'm looking at a skill level. How does the child hold the pencil? How does the child, is he able to take the top off of things? Is he able to build with blocks? What can he do numeracy in mathematics? Is he able to decode and encode when he's reading? Is he able to do these things? We actually can find the precise level. It's based on a K-12 system in any particular of the subjects. And then from there, the CLASS system, it requires obviously a team. Then we will build a comprehensive IEP based on the present levels. And the best thing about that diagnostic tool is I can see anywhere from 0 months. It has all the developmental stages. We've had it go through quite a bit. And I can see all the way, past through adulthood as to what's going on with folks. Also, it has a component where if the student is working with a behavioral therapist, or they're working on their social skills, which would be that wellness and well-being piece. It has a full range for adaptive social skills, so you can actually build a page in their IEP to address some of those vulnerabilities that Dr. Cara was discussing about. And it also has a place for all your therapists to put their plans. So the reason why it's called CLASS is because it's designed for the classroom teacher. So it comes back in a rather nice way that the entire team, depending on who you are, including parents, can understand where this journey is going and what their child does. So yes, we do have that available at Sunshine. It does not make a diagnosis. However, along with Dr. Cara, our educational psychologist, we also have a clinical psychologist at Sunshine, Dr. Anita Sani, who also can make diagnosis for eligibilities and let your students know what category of eligibility that they fit into. I keep saying that, and I'll keep saying that because the disability itself, it comes in different forms. So we don't know, how ADHD or how your child may be experiencing any kind of diagnosis that they get.
Fantastic. Thank you both. It was a very good answer. So it sounds like if you're coming to the Success Center and you suspect, or Dr. Cara suspects that, she will do an initial screening, and then if she sees it worthwhile, she'll certainly refer to Marquita Sunshine for more comprehensive. But by the way, one of our guests today wants to know, how did you come up with the name Sunshine?
Wow. So how did so what happened was way back, like 6 years ago, literally, I was at a point where I was like, I've got to do something for students and for the teachers. And for the parents. There was a cry of help from like 3 folks, like everyone involved, like, we've got to do something because the support, while it's there and it's mandated, it's coming along, but for some people it was too much, too little, too late. Okay. So I thought of a name that could encompass everyone. And one of my favorite songs when I grew up was, of course, The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow. I'll belay you all from singing that song, but you can Google it, from the movie Annie. And so I thought sunshine, and in Arabic, that's Shams or El Shamsa. And I literally felt that that was going to be like a ray of hope for people, a way of telling them, when you look up in the sky, oh, you see the sunshine. The sun will come out tomorrow. You will always have that hope. Okay, so that's why the word sunshine. And whenever you say that word, it kind of brings a warmth and a feeling, regardless if it's 50 degrees outside, right? But that's where it came from. And it encompasses everyone under the sun. So it doesn't leave out any part of this, because as you were saying, with the functional skills and everything, and our old proverb, it takes a village to raise someone. It encompasses everybody. I didn't want to leave anyone out of this. It's not just about special education, it's about education of all people. So that's where sunshine came from.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marquita. It was very inspiring. And thank you, Aisha, for sending that question. I've actually always been curious about that myself. It's good. It's good stuff. Dr. Cara, we have a question. Is this from Aisha also? We are considering Advantages in Success Center, but we're worried about the amount of time the children are left in front of the computer screen. Will the Success Center offer additional activities to fill up a 6-hour day?
Absolutely. My whole philosophy of teaching is that it should be fun and engaging. This is why I focus on a game-based learning approach. And so we don't want you to think that the Success Center is a chair away from home. The whole point of coming to the Success Center is to bring that curriculum to life. And of course, we will have students complete their assignments on the computer towards the end of each learning unit, like towards the end of each learning block. But most of the time, they're going to be engaged in using manipulatives, playing games that have to do with the content, socializing with each other, building bonds, building relationships. It's about the whole child. And so at the Success Center, your child will not just be sitting in a chair, typing away, reading page after page after page on the computer, or watching tons of videos, because they can do that at home. Coming to the Success Center is all about making learning enjoyable, bringing memorable experiences for the child, and bringing in their interests. So we are going to do an interest survey with whichever children decide to come to the Success Center. And we want to try to offer at least like the top 3 things as extracurriculars that are included in the fee schedule for the most part, unless it's something where we have to transport them separately for different things. But for the most part, we want that to be included as part of the Success Center experience. Wow. We want it to be about the children who have signed up. It's going to be curtailed for them and very individualized. So yes, no, you don't have to worry about screen time. And yes, they will have a great time.
Sounds like fun. Amazing. That sounds like just pure fun. It should be fun to learn.
Well, that's when you have the most, that's when you learn the most, is when you're enjoying what you're doing, because then learning becomes a memory rather than a task.
That's right.
So that's why we really focused on game-based learning and play-based learning for all ages. Because even as adults like to have game night, or we like to get around, sit and play Monopoly with each other or something. The games are very important for learning and bringing in that motivation.
Yes.
Okay. Marquita, I have another one. Is that from Lucy? Oh, this is from Aisha. These are all from Aisha. Okay, this is Aisha as well. You mentioned earlier how schools, sometimes you're able to go in and help schools or support schools. Will schools allow you to integrate like Advantages courses into their system if you find that you can get better results from the personal courses that Advantages offers?
Absolutely. I've actually had experience with that in the past with other online programs as well. And so When we go into schools, again, using that IEP, knowing the exact level of students, if a student is so far differentiated from what is taught in the mainstream, what is taught in the classroom, when we say so far differentiated, meaning everyone in 8th grade or 9th grade or in 11th grade or whatever grade they're in, probably when they walk into English is going to be sitting down, writing some words, putting together sentences everywhere from kindergarten on up to 8th grade, but the dynamics of that change. But what tends to happen is some of the students, as Dr. Cara had mentioned, they need individualized support. And we don't want to roll over them with the learning, because then they get very stressed, and that starts to bother all the other systems in your body. I can't even go into that right now, but it really does. And through that stress, they begin to shut down, especially with learning, because physically they can't take the pressure. So what tends to happen is then we see maybe behaviors rise, we see different things happen. When we level that playing field, and often schools also, when I'm also talking about schools too. When we level that playing field and we say, hey, look, we know the students in this grade, but they're at this level. And we know that we need to bring in a strong curriculum, and the answer is not to set them back in that particular grade at that level. We need the curriculum. So when we can bring in a structured curriculum like Advantages and say, okay, this is where we're going to take them from, maybe during their English or their math, they get enhancement from this program. We've all agreed. The school has decided that yes, they can have maybe a resource room or an independent time where they work with their learning support person, which, by the way, at Sunshine, we do have learning support assistants and learning support teachers, okay? So basically they say, okay, they can work with this person or a small group, and we can bring that leveled curriculum to them using Advantages Middle East. That would be incredible, because now we have a way to track them. All the teachers can see what they're working on. It's exactly their level. It's what they're looking towards. And we can even agree on things like grading. We can agree that we will accept this program, we will accept this curriculum from this program as a way to measure the student's success. Another thing I must add is students here are peer grouped. They are not grouped by their abilities. Okay, so peer group means they're grouped by their age. So it doesn't matter if I'm in 8th grade, now I'm just going to take the cap off, and I face some kind of, I'm experiencing some kind of disability, but my level in some subject is at a 3rd grade level, and that's where I need to take myself from. I could literally fly in with Advantages Middle East, use their curriculum to enhance their learning experience and show growth, versus leaving them in an 8th grade program and trying to water down, or whatever we want to call it, differentiate to a 3rd grade level. Yes, the differentiation is already there. You have a measurement, you have your IEP, you've agreed on what curriculum to use. So it's a huge, like Dr. Carr was saying, a huge advantage to have Advantages Middle East and have that access to that kind of curriculum that is accredited, and to be able to use that at the schools. So that is absolutely possible to do, to have that mixture. And schools, actually, they appreciate it. It's less stress for them. They can explain it on how they're educating their students and meeting the needs of their students on their inspections, and they can plan for it. And it's a wonderful partnership. And they are tasked with looking at ways of partnering with outside entities as well to enhance the experience of students in the brick and mortar school as well. So it's a win for everyone if that happens.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And I should thank you again for that question. And
Great question.
I know, yes, Marquita is a pioneer in using and leveraging today's technology to really advance students with special education needs. And I've had a front row seats over the years to see the progress that she's made, and oftentimes taken children and help them exceed the IEP expectations even. So congratulations, Marquita, and I'm glad we're very, very, very both privileged and very blessed to have you on our team to support more students at Advantages Middle East and our Success Center. It's very good. Dr. Carr, I do have one more question for you. So for students, and I think we had the same question last week, but it basically comes to students who cannot get all of their work done during the 6-hour day. Are there any type of after-school programs or anything else that will be offered at the Success Center?
Yes, I actually also have I have after-school, so I call it after-school support rather than tutoring, for the different subjects of reading, writing, math, or even a homework hub. We have an early reading club, and this is all part of the Enlighten Lounge Learning Center, which is my learning center now. Like sunshine, I wanted to do enlighten because I wanted to have the light beaming through that encourage you to be a lifelong learner. So that's kind of cool that we're both dealing with light, so to speak. But yes, we will have after school support that is possible as extra support. I do feel confident in saying that through the game-based learning, the children will be able to complete most of their assignments. Of course, it is up to them to be motivated and engaged during the school day, but it's just going to be so enjoyable that they're not really going to notice how much learning is happening. So by the time that they go and fill in the questions that are actually on the online curriculum, it's like, yes, we finished that. Okay, let me go fill that in, because they're motivated to go to the next thing. But yes, we do have support for after school if needed.
That's amazing. And then there's no funner way to spend the afternoon than an Enlighten Lounge. I'll tell you, it's a great place for them, and a great place for summer also. I hosted solo today because my co-host and partner, Gloria Brown, has traveled. She went to Kenya for a huge home education conference and caught a little bug. But Gloria, she's here. She's a trooper. She's a soldier. She's on the call anyway. And so, Gloria, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you have any closing thoughts before we end the session.
Well, I just want to say that, excuse me for my, but I have 2 special needs kids, and I am just really excited about this partnership with both Dr. Carr and Marquita, because this is such a need for those parents that are looking for an alternative form of educating their child, and they don't fit in that traditional homeschool traditional setting in a school, and sometimes those disabilities are invisible disabilities. They are not necessarily something that people will look at a child and say, oh yeah, he has a disability. And that's so important to me, to have these I am so sorry, I cannot talk. My throat is really bothering me. That we've got these services for all parents, not just for the home educating community, but for all parents that are struggling to find a place for their child. So thank you so much, Marquita and Dr. Cara, for that. It's such a really special time here today, and I'm really excited about this particular webinar, that I hope that we get it out to the parents that weren't able to be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. I said you are a trooper. And to our guests from among the community who have joined us today, thank you so much for tuning in to our special guests, Dr. Cara and Marquita. This is the last time I'll refer to either one of you as guests. You are a part of the Advantages Middle East community. And, we continue to welcome your input and your advice and your expertise to make us the best education provider in the region. So thank you both so very, very much for joining us today. And we'll get this recording ready to get out as early as first of the week, probably on Monday afternoon. It'll get it out. So feel free to share it with your friends and families who didn't make it today. Thank you all once again for joining us, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.